Eric Mazzarella.
And we're like a little punchy today, but if you guys had heard like the us actually pressing play here, I think it's like rainy, it's May, things are a little bit crazy. We're like a little punchy.
I think it's going to be a spicy episode.
It is going to be a spicy episode because what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about stuff on the internet we disagree with, which is a lot.
That feels a little.
But can I before we get into this, can I tell my Ben story?
Oh yeah, tell your kid. Maybe don't name your child when you do it, but yes.
Okay. His name's Barry. Nailed it. Anyway, so yesterday I'm getting ready to go to school and take the kids and all that stuff and for work, and I hear like my wife laughing incredibly loudly, my two sons laughing incredibly loudly. I'm like, she's not funny. Like, what the hell? What's so funny? So I go over there, and my 5-year-old has a giant sock stuffed down his pants, going around saying, "I have a big peepee."
Oh, and it starts early, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I didn't realize that was a thing. So obviously, he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So this morning, also, he's walking around with a giant sock stuffed in his pants.
Yeah, because welcome to a boy. Nothing is ever funny just once. Like,
oh no, if you laugh one time, like get ready to laugh it a million times.
You're done. Yeah, and I think part of why we're punchy right now is like, for those of you who are parents, this will resonate deeply with you. For those of you who are not, buckle up for when it happens to you, is that I lovingly refer to May as May-sember.
May-sember.
Yeah, because there are 2 months a year where you as a parent have never been so overwhelmed in your life. One is December.
Yep.
And one is May-sember. And it's because as parents, like the stuff that you have field day, teacher appreciation week, where you have to send your kid to school dressed in a specific color with a snack for their teacher on day 1, a letter on day 2. You have 4 concerts for 4 different kids because only each grade gets their own concert. You've got an orchestra concert, a chorus concert. You have orientation for middle school. You have field day. You have 5th grade, whatever, not recital, but like graduation. And on top of it, you have 10,000 sporting events.
Yeah, and the practices are stupid long and all that fun stuff.
And then it's like 8 o'clock at night. Your kid who goes to bed at 7:30 the rest of the year is like crying in the back seat because they're exhausted.
Your kid goes to bed at 7:30. My kids do not go to bed at 7:30. They're like wide awake.
Okay,
like,
well,
yes.
It might be why I'm a little less punchy than you are.
Maybe. Yeah. See, I'm built for this.
You are. I'm not. I am not. I'm so tired. But yeah, like this is a crazy time of year. So all of you parents, I feel for you. I'm here for you.
I also don't want to brag, but I was selected out of 200 applicants to be the field day assistant.
Yes, look at you.
This.
The field day. I don't even like, my kid's like, "Are you coming to field day?" I'm like, I missed the sign up. That I don't even know where it went. That is not an organizational skill that I have.
I actually remembered to fill out the form, and I actually got selected. I was like, at first I was like, oh crap, I have a lot of things that day. What
that
can I make
power is 100% going to go to Derek's head too. For those of you who don't know, like that is, he's going to be like, "Hello everybody.
Yeah.
My name is Derek Mazzarella. I'm all of your boss today."
I should wear a shirt with like Harrison's picture on it, say Harrison's dad on it, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Harrison probably loved that.
He would. Yeah, I bet he would.
That'd be a boy thing. All right. So, financial hot takes. This was like a fun one to do a little research on. I would like to point out for those of you watching a video, who is holding the paper today with the questions, because it's me. It's not Derek.
I'm sorry. Here's what happened. She had a computer do all the work. I manually did it like it's 1987.
Yeah, and it's not great, so we're going to use mine.
Damn it.
It's not great. Okay, so what is a financial hot take? You guys know we talk about it in some episodes. There is like a rampant of information on the internet, on the TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And people like to talk with a lot of authority, like, this is what you should do with your money. This is the right answer. And we're gonna see if we agree or disagree.
Yeah, and they make it so easy, right? Oh, it's just do this.
Yeah.
Just do this. Okay.
Yeah. And my first one, this is near and dear to my heart. You need to put 20% down to buy a home. Derek, agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Disagree. Why do you disagree?
Because one of the best things about real estate is you don't need to put a ton down to get the asset. And some people don't have that cash, and they have a cash flow to pay for the mortgage, and they don't need to. I get PMI is kind of a pain in the butt. But it's also not like existential crisis if you can't put 20% down.
100% agree. PMI is this like dirty word that people, when you say, and PMI, for those of you who don't know, private mortgage insurance, if you put less than 20% down on a conventional loan, you're going to pick up PMI. PMI depends on the borrower, the credit score, the down payment. A lot of factors go into it, but it's often not super expensive. Like it might be $50 a month. And so what is worth more to you? Having an extra 20 grand sitting in your pocket and paying $50 a month, or having $0 in your pocket and now you don't have PMI.
I also hate PMI in general. Not the fact there's an extra cost, but I feel like, why do I as a buyer have to pay for your inability to underwrite a loan?
Welcome to mortgages, where all the risk is on the client.
I know, it's just insane.
All the risk
It's
is on the client.
insane.
Yeah, we put that on you. We also make you pay for lender's title insurance.
Also insane.
The lender does not pay for that. But yeah, so financial hot take for both of us is disagree.
Disagree.
If
Strong
you
disagree.
can, great. If it
Yeah.
makes financial sense for you, great. Absolutely not a necessity to buy a home.
No, definitely not.
My next one is all credit cards are bad.
No, definitely not. That's ridiculous. You know what? If you cannot control yourself, where you magically having X amount of money on your credit card means you're just going to go ahead and spend it, you got bigger problems than the credit card itself. But they're better than debit cards because you're getting points, so money back, or you can take vacations or do all this fun stuff that I don't know enough about. And you're also getting protection, right? Like if someone steals my credit card, Chase calls me or Visa calls me or whoever goes, hey, by the way, your credit card was stolen. We're going to block this transaction. Okay.
Yeah,
we're going to send you a new
debit
card.
card's stolen.
Thank you.
They're like, oh, your money's gone. Sorry.
Yeah. Debit card, money's gone.
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
No go. Yeah. I think credit cards get a bad rap. Now, what do you need to know about credit cards? They got high interest rates, guys. We're talking 20, 25%.
Yeah.
You do not want to be holding balances on credit cards. That's when credit cards are bad. When you are, charging a couple $100, here and there, and all of a sudden you get to the end of the month, your bill is higher than you can pay off in full. You're going to carry that over to the next month and the next month and the next month.
Yep.
And now you've got 10 grand on a credit card. The monthly payment's $500 a month. You're paying more interest than anything else. Yeah, that's bad.
Right.
My bigger thing with credit cards, and I would like everybody to rewind to season 1. There is an episode on credit, a full episode on credit, is that you do have to have debt in order to populate a credit score. And a credit score will help you do things like buy homes, buy cars, buy things that you actually need. So without credit cards and the ability to show a bank that you can be responsible with other people's money, you're in a lot of trouble. Now, there is a very famous financial guru, Dave Ramsey, who loves to poo-poo on all debt, all credit is terrible. He does have some good methods. We could talk about those on another day. But like the whole, you should cut up your credit cards or whatever. Yeah, good luck until it's time to buy a house. And I go to pull your credit and I say, you don't have a credit score.
They're just going to pay with cash anyway because they have no debt, and that's how that works. So easy peasy. Boom.
Easy peasy. So that one is definitely a disagree for both of us.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to, no. All debt is bad. So
all of it.
Kind of going along with the all credit card is bad. All debt is bad.
Stupid. I think this is just really dumb. I think I also hate the good debt, bad debt conversation. I think that's also very silly. I mean, obviously there's better debt, there's better interest rates. You'd rather have a mortgage versus a car loan, right? Clearly. But no, like debt is a leverage tool. You use it correctly, you're going to be great. It's kind of like fire. You can either cook your meal with it or you can burn your hand.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're using debt correctly, you can build wealth. Like I got a house in Boston and then I took that debt and then I rolled it into a new house. So I have 2 houses with one down payment.
Yeah.
Like that's leveraging debt correctly.
Well, and the other thing I'm going to tell you guys, every wealthy person has debt. If you think the multimillionaires and multi-billionaires do not have debt, you are wrong.
Well, if you look at how they're paying so little in taxes, they borrow against their stock.
Yeah.
That's debt.
That's debt. That's debt. So yeah, no, definitely all debt is not bad. Again, it's like you have to use it responsibly.
Yeah.
Right. With all risk can come reward or demise. You have to be really careful with it. But using debt for like what it's made for, to help give you more leverage, to get, like things like credit card points, right? To like utilize it for things like that, to buy yourself a house, to buy yourself a car. It's where people get themselves in trouble is just not understanding the debt that they're taking out, not understanding the terms, not understanding the interest rate, not understanding things like compounding interest.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest problem with student loan debt. People just get into these student loans, they do the minimum payments, and they don't understand the impact that it's not actually paying down the loan. And they're like, what's happening here? Like, why is it working like this?
Yeah. So, and as you said before, like you hate the like good debt versus bad debt. All debt is neutral, guys. Like there's unless you have a predatory loan, okay, which is like we could do a whole podcast about. Yeah. Like if we're talking credit cards, student loans, mortgages, car loans, those are all neutral. Like that's a tool. It's not a punishment. It's not a banishment. It's not a reward. It's literally a tool.
Right.
It only becomes a problem if you do not understand it and or you are using it incorrectly.
Correct.
Or not looking at your full picture. So I would say the only time I really would be like is people taking out debt that they can qualify for but can't actually afford. I see that in mortgages. Cars, as you mentioned, cars is where I see it more than anything else. I've got somebody making $60,000 a year with a $1,200 a month car payment. That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah, I mean, the quote unquote bad debt is going to be the stuff that's not really valuable. It's not an asset, right? So like buying a car, that's a depreciating asset. You racking up the credit card, like that is not efficient debt.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you may need it to float you for a month on the credit card, for example, or hey, I got to get a car. Like not a lot of people have 40 grand in cash or 60 grand now in cash. It's totally fine. I have a car loan.
Totally fine. But I think you just said like, what's your monthly payment? And I think the bigger issue that people have with debt is using debt to increase their lifestyle instead of using income to increase their lifestyle.
Yes.
So like debt, you should never have more debt than the money that you're making and more debt than what you can pay off in a month.
Right. Exactly.
So
well said.
Perfect. I love this one. The
Ooh.
stock market is basically gambling.
What do you think it is? I'm gonna throw it back to you first.
All right. Well, I disagree.
Okay.
Right? Is that I do get where people make the correlation. Like I get it, but the stock market is like, first off, the odds aren't stacked against you. That's gambling. Gambling is when the odds are stacked against you.
Yep.
And so you are rolling the dice purely with luck.
Mm-hmm.
There's no data. It's luck and seeing what return you get. The stock market does not work like that. It's first off not stacked against you. You have the data. You have information. You know how this works. You know, the ingredients behind the secret sauce. So no, it's not gambling. It is a leverage tool for wealth.
Yep. Well, I'll say this. You can gamble with the stock market. So the way that works is you day trade. Right. So you try and buy something and then sell it right away, or, you think you're like a one over on the market, or you do something with like leveraged ETFs. You ever heard of those?
No.
So basically you're using debt to buy a security. And if it goes up, great. You crushed it. You did like 2x or 3x what you normally would have done because you're using leverage. But it goes in the opposite way where you can really lose your money very quickly. The stock market is the exact opposite of a casino. The longer you stay at the tables at the casino, the more likely you're to lose money. The opposite is true for the stock market. The longer you stay invested in the stock market, the more likely you will make money.
Oh.
And that is where people get it very wrong. And so, no, it's not gambling. You can be gambling doing it. It's not very smart, in my opinion. But I don't think it's gambling. If you do it correctly, you know how to play the game.
All right. I like that one. This is one that Derek has a lot of feelings about.
Mm-hmm.
You should pay off your mortgage as fast as possible.
Oh my God, I hate this. I hate this so much. No, do not pay the mortgage off ever. Like I feel like I almost a never ever pay your mortgage off. I just don't get it.
Why not, Derek?
Math. All right, let's say you do want to pay this mortgage off. I'm going to give you an investment option. Okay, I've got an asset. You can invest an extra. Let's say you get an extra $500 a month. You can put $500 a month in this investment account. It's going to earn, I don't know, what's that mortgage rate? 4%? 4% a year. Great. The money's not liquid. And if you want to get it out, you have to borrow it. Does that sound like a good investment? 4%. You never get to touch it.
Yeah, no, not really.
No. And that's what you're doing. And when you're aggressively paying down a mortgage, you're going from, let's say, a 30-year mortgage to like maybe shaving off, 7 or 8 years. So you're like, okay, now you're paid off in 22 years. Like, is your life that much different with the extra 8 years of payments to like sacrifice all that extra money and liquidity? Meanwhile, if you really, really want to pay this off, the better way to do it is to put money into an investment account, stock market earns 10% on average. So you're earning more than double what the interest is. You have liquidity the entire time, and you could pay it off probably in 20 years instead of 22 because you've earned twice as much money as you had over the last 20 years. And like, because you have a long enough time horizon to pay this off, where like actually investing, it makes sense. It's not like I have a year to pay this off and maybe the market drops this year. You've got a 20-year time frame. The market almost always is up in a 20-year time frame.
Boom. And I would really doubly agree with this for those of you who are sitting in the like 2.5%, 2.875 interest rates. Like, guys, that's practically free money. Like,
it's
if you
outrageous.
do that math out, it's practically free money. So you're just like, you're just paying a little bit in every month to continue to gain equity on this property. It's costing you the least amount for that amount of debt.
Plus with inflation, that like your payment is actually dropping every single year.
Look at that. I never even thought about that. When I'm a mortgage person, that's a good way to think of it.
Your mortgage is getting cheaper every single year.
Yeah. Now, and I say that, but now I'm going to talk about the 6% people, the 7% people. Same thing, guys. Like, you're still making more than that with that same money invested. Maybe not as much, but
yeah, the delta's
more.
tighter. But like once again, you're liquid. Like if the problem is that you pay it down, you want to get the money back out. Oh, I got to get a HELOC. Okay, well now you're at the mercy of whatever the rates are, and you have no control over that, and you have no control exactly when you need it.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I get really fired up about this, and
because this is probably a question you get asked a lot, right? You have people who sit down with you, they're looking at their full financial picture, and they're like, Derek, I'm going to pay my mortgage off. And Derek is like, no.
Well, you know what the funny thing for me is, like from an advisor standpoint, we're always like, don't get emotional when it comes to stock market. And then we allow them to get emotional when it comes to debt. And there's like nothing behind it. There's no, other than they like, oh, I just don't want to have debt. Or like I was told debt was bad my entire life. Or I listened to Dave Ramsey and debt's bad. Like that's not a valid excuse for anything.
Well, and I think like one of the things that you can take away from all of these that we've said so far is like the maths. All of these are math word problems that you need to sit and solve, probably with a professional, because most of us like didn't do great at word problems in whatever 5th and 6th grade. But they're like a word problem, and you have to do the math out in order to see if it makes sense. I have this argument all the time with people with refinancing, and we'll get into a refinancing question, but like you got to do the math, guys. It doesn't always make sense.
It's not just the rate. There's other factors involved. We'll talk about that. You want to just jump into that one now since we're talking about it?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So you should always refinance when the rate drops.
No, definitely not. I mean, it depends on how long you're staying in the house for. What are the closing costs? Which, like they eat up a ton.
Yep. I have to explain to people and people always want to say like, oh, well, once the rate drops at least 1%, I should refinance.
Yeah.
Honestly, for some people, it could be 0.5% and it makes sense. Generally for a refinance, the shorter time that you've been in the loan, the more sense it makes to refinance. The longer you have sat in the loan, the less sense it makes because you pay mortgages interest heavy up front. So if you've got a 30-year mortgage and you've paid 20 years off of that mortgage, you've only got 10 years left, it often does not make sense to refinance that loan. But every single piece of refinancing a loan comes down to math. And lenders don't want to do the math for you because we want you to refinance, guys.
Also comes down to like, do you need extra cash out of the house for some reason? Then maybe it makes some sense to do that. But
sometimes it's debt consolidation. Because the other thing I will say too that people do get skewed is like, say you've got a 5% interest rate and that sounds really good. And you want to do a huge renovation on your home. And you could get a cash out refinance for 6.5%. Okay. Or you could go take out like a construction line of credit through the contractor, and that's going to be at 12%. People don't want to refinance their OG mortgage because their rate is lower than the 6.5 that they're being offered to do a cash out refi. And like, I will do the math for people and they would be like, oh my God, it's so different. So it's all math. Same with, debt consolidation. Debt consolidation is a very common purpose for a refinance. So that's where, say you've got a ton of other debts, credit card debt, student loan debt, car debt, and you are being eaten alive by monthly payments. Sometimes it does make sense to use equity that you have in your house to reduce your monthly payment. But that involves a lot of math.
Yep.
Okay. Because you are taking like depreciating assets and then including them in your home. And it becomes like, yeah, cool. You put your car that had an 11% rate in it, but like at some point you're going to sell your car, but you're still going to be paying on that car because now it's part of your house.
Yeah. Now you're paying that car forever.
Yeah. Now you're paying the car forever. So like we got to do the math out to see if it makes sense. But the other thing that you have to figure out is like what got you in this place to begin with, and like what can you do to not get back in it again. But a refinance can make absolute sense, or it can be a terrible idea, and you need to find a trusted loan officer, not like the mail that came home saying you should refinance. Like I get this all the time from my own servicer, like all this stuff about refinancing. I have like, there is literally zero reason for me to refinance.
Oh, mine's always like, hey, get cash out of your property.
Yeah, like I have zero reason, but people get like, I get a lot of calls from my former clients that are like, hey, I got this thing. It says I should refi, so my rate would be like a 5%. And I'm like, okay, let's read the fine print. And then we like read it. I'm like, I will tell you when it's time to refi. This ain't it. So sometimes a good idea, sometimes not, but it just depends.
Yep.
Emergency funds are more important than investing.
Yes. I'm going to say yes. I agree with that one.
Okay. What's your take on that?
All right. Here's the problem. if you don't have an emergency fund, because if you have, just go straight to investing, and you probably should do a little bit of the same thing at the same time. Like that could probably be the best way to do it. But if you don't have an emergency fund and something happens, you're either forced to sell a stock position, and you may not want to sell it at the time because either it's down or there's a tax implication of it, or you're going right back into debt. And now you've got this credit card debt, and now you're in this debt cycle that you cannot get out of. So that's generally why I say, like, just start with the emergency fund. It's the first thing you should do. It's the foundation. You should always have some cash available just in case, because stuff happens all the time.
Yep. What do you have a number? Like, what should people have for an emergency fund?
All right. So it's kind of a different rule of thumb for people, but the range is, my thing is, if you are on the low end, 3 months, because for a couple reasons. So let's say you're dual income, 3 months makes sense. Generally, if you're working, a short-term disability will cover you for about 3 months, and then after 3 months, a long-term disability would kick in. So, like, generally, you want to cover 3 months. It's actually really 4 because they don't start paying till the end of the month. So, if you want to have 4 months in general, 6 months if it's, hey, it's single income, or maybe you have, like, kind of in your case where you have variable income and you don't really know exactly cash flow month to month, like what to do. Anything over like a year is definitely overkill.
Definitely overkill. Yeah, you should have that money invested at that point.
Yeah, because generally at that point, like, look, the money should be invested, and no one's going to spend a year's worth of salary like right off the bat, unless there's a specific reason for that, or you're saving for down payment. But like when it comes to just like an emergency fund, generally like more than 6 months not doing much for you.
I would agree with that. I think the only thing that I would add to that is that everybody should be on a yearly basis. If you own a home, you should be looking at your home. You should be figuring out, like, okay, my hot water heater, should theoretically have 5 years left in a usable life. My roof should have 10 years left in a usable life. And part of that, like, emergency fund should also have those things contemplated and built into it. So, like, if you're looking at your hot water heater, like, that bad boy is going to blow at any time, and that's going to cost me $3,000, your emergency fund should be your emergency fund plus the beginnings of you putting that money in for that to have that $3,000. Because what ends up happening with people a lot of times with emergency funds is we think of emergency funds like you lose your job, you had a catastrophic injury, something like that. Your hot water heater actually isn't the emergency. That's not the emergency. And so people have that, they take the money out of it, they pay for it, and then like they don't always go back.
Yeah, you got to refill it.
You got to refill it. And so knowing that people don't often go back to refill it, I would actually encourage you to front fill it. So to fill it ahead of time, your roof. If you bought your house and your roof had 2 years left on it, you need to figure out how much a new roof is going to cost you and start building that in now.
$200 a month now, and then it's easier.
Right? So it's easier. I also would say on the emergency fund, when we say like, what does 3 months or what 4 months mean? Some people just are like, oh, well, that's my mortgage payment for 3 months. No, guys, it's all of your monthly payments.
Yeah, whatever your total monthly expenses are, take that and then times it by 3 or 6.
So it's daycare, it's cell phone bills, it's
groceries, everything. Yeah, everything. Whatever. Like if you had to not work for 6 months, like what are those expenses?
Exactly. Yeah. Side hustles are necessary to build wealth today.
No, absolutely not. I don't think so.
What? Why not? What's your?
Well, I think they can be a distraction. I think a lot of times they're harder than people think, and they may actually take some investing to do. And that may actually cost you. Whereas a lot of times, like, just be better at the thing you're good at. Just really be like, in my case, like, just be a better financial advisor. In your case, be a better mortgage broker. Try and get a promotion. Like, like, make yourself more valuable at work, and if you get that promotion or job hop, like, whatever, you're probably going to get more money doing that than you are, like, on the side for 2 hours a week, doing Amazon FBA or whatever crappy Etsy thing you think you could do. Like,
yeah, I'm in wholehearted agreement. I think I think the millennials / Gen Zers have been sort of snowed into this thought that like we have to have everybody needs passive income streams. Everybody needs more money. You have to be doing this. You're not going to be successful. Does that work for some people? Absolutely. 100%. Does it work for most people? No. And I agree with you. I think it can sometimes distract from like the real way you make money. I also think for those of you who are variable income earners, and like I can talk about that with so much authority. If those of you who don't know, mortgage loan officers are 100% commission based. We are the most variable income you could ask for. We could make no money for months. We could make lots of money for months. 1 year could be 4 times the next year.
Yeah.
It's very variable. But once you start picking up other income, you're not focused on the real job.
Right.
And also I would ask, what I ask people a lot is like, if you are a variable income earner and you feel the need to get a second job, then that initial variable income position may not be the job for you.
Yeah. I would just also say like, all right, so your time, let's say you want to make a certain amount of money. Is that like, all right, now I'm at $100 an hour. Like, is that amount of time you're going to be putting into that side hustle going to generate that $100 an hour? And if it's not, are you generating $20 an hour? Like, if you got like, I mean, what are you going to do? Surveys for $50 an hour for surveys or whatever? I don't know. I will say this. I have had one client I did a disability policy for. His whole side hustle was like courses on how to make money on Etsy.
Oh.
But the ironic thing was he made very little money on Etsy per month, but he made a ton, like 20x on the courses on how to make money, which I think is incredibly ironic.
Wow. Well, and
So-
I do think there are those. People do hit sweet spots.
They do, but I think my message from that is like, if these people are pumping out courses, they're making more money from that course than they are from that thing that they're telling you to do. So I would be very wary of that because they're probably not making the money that you think they are.
Yeah.
from
Well,
that
that's
thing.
like, for those of you who are listening who are in real estate, related to real estate, follow real estate, welcome to real estate, where everybody's a coach. Everyone is a coach. Everybody's paying somebody else to coach them who's paying somebody. It is like the pyramid scheme of coaching
Yeah.
in real estate. And what I always look people dead in the eye and say, if that person was super successful at being a realtor or a loan officer or whatever, they would not also need to be a coach.
Correct.
They would be just killing it doing the job.
Yep.
So contemplate that. This one I love because I think this like is so millennial.
Nice. Okay. Lay it on me.
You should avoid lifestyle inflation at all costs.
No, I think you have to be reasonable with it, right? Like if your income goes up 50 grand, yeah, spend a little bit of it, but don't spend all of it or don't spend more than the 50 grand. I think that's where people get in trouble. They get trapped in their lifestyle and then it gets really cumbersome for them to get out of.
Yep.
But if you have a raise, yeah, I would say make a plan, save some, enjoy some.
I think the other piece of the inflation is just reviewing where the inflation is coming from. What is increasing? Are you going on an extra vacation? Are you like, what are you doing with the money?
Yeah.
Is it enjoyable to you? Right?
Yeah.
Are you getting something out of it? I think where this becomes very millennial is I think a lot of our lifestyle inflation is actually the keeping up with the Joneses effect more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's not tied to our income. It's not, because it doesn't say that like, is that inflation tied to you getting more money? Yes or no? A lot of it is actually really tied to what you're seeing other people do. And I think like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is pushing those of us of this age. You guys know that there's a whole episode where I joke about being easily influenced on the internet. We need things. Well, somebody got a nicer car. You see these videos of people going on vacation. I have to have that vacation. I have to do those things. So that's actually my bigger advice with lifestyle inflation is sort of you should be living the lifestyle for the money that you make, not for what your friends are doing, not for what you're seeing online. But as your income increases, your lifestyle can increase accordingly.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you were here's the change. Let's say like you should be saving probably 10 to 15, maybe 20% of your income. If you're at the point where you're not making enough money, but you're saving like 5%, like as your wages grow, okay, like now you should be bumping that up to 10. And then anything else left you save. Like, so ratchet that up to fit in with it. Because one problem I have is like, have you ever heard of Parkinson's law?
No.
So basically it's like, it's going to design to fill the room. Like, right. So I went from a condo to a house. Like there's a lot of empty rooms in that house. Now we have to fill it with stuff, right? Like furniture and all that crap. Like the same thing happens with your wages. Like it's going to fill the space and either you have the choice now before you do it of filling it with savings or you're going to fill it with expenses.
I like it. All right. We sort of touched on this, but this one is more specific. Student loans are good debt.
Great debt.
Great debt.
So I think it's amazing debt if you're an art major and you want to.
Why does this feel like a personal attack? Ouch, Derek. Ouch.
Well, you're doing art right now, right?
Yeah, those of you who don't know, I have a BFA in art.
Yeah. No, I think we've gone so much to the extreme now where college is so expensive. You just have to be really smart about what you're spending, what your loans are looking like and all that stuff. Because I agree. I think like the studies still show that like you're going to make more money by a significant margin by going to college. So in that respect, yes, it's probably better debt than most things. But you've got to be realistic about like, okay, what's the job I'm getting? What's the school I'm going? Is the school going to generate that much of a difference? Like, there's not a lot of difference between like UConn and UHart and Quinnipiac, like here in Connecticut, right? But like, there's probably a little bit of a premium at Harvard.
Yeah.
Well, but most schools aren't Harvard. Most schools aren't Yale.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I think the other piece to it is one of the downsides for people right now is that the cost of education has increased significantly, but the actual value of your degree has decreased significantly.
Yeah.
And what do I mean when I say that is 30, 40 years ago, a bachelor's degree was a big deal.
Big deal.
It was a big deal. It was a differentiator in the workplace. Now it is an assumptive. You are assumed to have one. So what has become the differentiator? Well, now it's a master's degree. Now it's a PhD. Now it's a JD. Now there's like another piece to it. And so if you're already spending $100,000 a year on a bachelor's degree, which at this point is kind of a baseline, it's the high school diploma
high school
of 40,
plus.
of 40 years ago. And you now have $400,000 worth of debt, and you then need to go get another degree or 2 degrees or whatever. This is problematic. I do think we have already started to see the shift in this, where more kids are going to community colleges, trade schools, things like that for those initial degrees, and then they may be looking.
Yeah, because if you go to community school, college first, and you go to UConn, like your degree says UConn. It doesn't say community college.
Correct. Nobody knows. So I don't think that student loan debt is good debt necessarily. I think, again, it's leverage debt. What are you doing with it? But I also think, in my opinion, student loan debt is the most misunderstood debt by the people signing off on it. Parents and students, they don't understand the terms of this debt. They don't understand what the payments are going to look like. Nobody understands, is this a Parent Plus loan? Is this a private student loan? Is this a whatever student loan? There's so many versions. You're signing this stuff. You're just excited to go to the college. I think we did a whole episode of student loans. You're just excited to go to the school. So you're like, I'll sign my name on anything. And then all of a sudden, 4 years later, you've got $1,000 a month payment. And you're like, oh God, I can't pay it. So it can be good. It can be bad. Most people need way more education. Both parents, even if you are educated, even if you went to college, even if you think you understand finances, student loans are tricky. Get help.
Because they don't look like a mortgage. Like they don't have that amortization schedule. They're just totally different.
Totally different. And they do not discharge with bankruptcy, just so everybody knows. You can't get rid of them.
Nope.
Okay, the last one.
Okay.
You should wait for interest rates to drop before buying a house.
Of course, yeah, obviously. You can time that.
You can time it.
No, that's ridiculous. You got to buy the house at the time when it's the right fit for you. Right cost, like cash flow wise. If you feel like you're going to stay there for a while, interest rates are temporary anyway.
Perfect. That's my answer. I tell everybody, you don't dictate when it's time to buy a house. Your life dictates when it's time to buy a house. You cannot gauge it based on what rates are. You have to make smart decisions for you based on a monthly payment that works for you, based on factors like how much rent is, where you're living, how long you're going to be there, what sort of job you have, is it stable? It has nothing to do with rates on whether or not it's a good time for you to buy a house.
I mean, realistically, unless there's like a 1 or 2% swing in the rates, like getting 0.5% rates, not making a massive difference in your payment.
No. And even the people who went from the 2023% to the now 6.5%, everything has kind of gone up. Your income has gone like a lot. There's just so much that comes into play. So no, you should not wait for rates drop to buy a house. The other thing, just quick fact, what happens when rates drop, more buyers come out, prices go up. So you're never really saving money. So you need to just talk to a professional.
Yep.
All right. So financial hot takes.
Hot takes, yeah.
We agreed on everything, I think.
I think
were
so.
in agreement.
Yeah, it doesn't make for a spicy episode. I guess we should
doesn't.
find something we disagree on.
Right? Stuff that we disagree on. But we do disagree with the internet on a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I think they just make it sound so simple, or it's like too rigid with everything. That's usually my problem. It's like the all or nothing is always usually the issue.
Yeah, and that's my Dave Ramsey jam. Dave, the all debt is bad. Nobody should have any debt. Okay, Dave.
Well, I did like a LinkedIn post, actually. I kind of calculated, like, all right, if I paid attention to him, I wouldn't have done what I did with my houses. And it like, I don't know, this is maybe a year or two ago. It would have cost me like $163,000 if I had listened to him.
I listened to him. Wow. See? We should do a whole episode on that. Wow.
We should. Yeah, we could break that down.
All right.
If the people want to hear that, we can break that down.
If the people want to hear it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening.
All right. Thanks.